Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome to today's session. The speaker of today's session, uh, ma'am, let me introduce you first. So today's session speaker is Sakshi Sharma. She is currently working as software engineer at Microsoft and has graduated from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, with a major in mathematics and computing. So, ma'am, you can take over from here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Just one issue, I'm not able to see the chat. So in case they want to reach out to me, how can they reach out to me? Yes, you're on mute.
Top right column. Mila,
Uh, no,
comments.
I don't see. On my phone, at least, I don't see. Okay. Let me.
Uh, प्राइवेट चैट जहाँ पे है ना, वहाँ पे ही ऊपर स्ट्रीम यार्ड पे, वरना अगर आपको वैसे देखना है तो आप नॉर्मल उस पे भी देख सकते हो,
Oh, okay. Okay.
यूट्यूब पे
Fine.
भी।
Yeah. Okay. I see the comments now. Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all are able to hear me. If not, then please put it in the chat. So, welcome to the webinar. Thanks, Yash, for introducing me. And let's get started with the webinar. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right. So yeah, today's session, according to the agenda that we have, so I expect mostly crowd from first and second year. But even if you are from like third or fourth year and you are closer to your interview preparation, then also I think uh, I think this session will be helpful for you. So this will be like a career guidance session. We will go over firstly over all the technical arenas or fields that you can explore when you are beginning your tech career, and after that I will move on to some interview specific preparation section. So there I will discuss what pointers you can take into consideration when you're creating your projects, resumes. Let's say when you are inside the interview, then how do you tackle the question, and also if time permits we'll also go over a DSA problem, right? So, and also we'll talk about the HR round and what are the different technical profiles that are available, and what preparation do you need to do for all of them if you want to get into. So yeah, that would be the entire session. So let's get started. um, yeah, so the first technical field that we come across is data analytics and data science. So there is like most of us are mostly confused that what is the difference between these two. So data analytics means that we analyze the data and we try to make some conclusions based on it. So if you want to get started with data analytics, there is this website called Kaggle. There you will find multiple data sets. Like, let's talk about the Titanic data set. So it contains information about all the passengers who were on the Titanic ship, and you have to predict if based on their gender, their economic background, and all of that sort, will they survive or not. So isn't that something, a very interesting problem that if you could really solve using just some algorithms or some theoretical concepts, then, right? So that is really interesting. And then there are other also some data sets that you can begin with. There is house pricing data set, where you have to predict the price like of a house given the area, the size of the house, and everything. Then there is a digit recognizer data set. So all of these are like some real life problems that we solve using applying some analytics on the data, right? And then the second section is data science. So data science is more like the theoretical part of it. So in data analytics, you will be using these algorithms, right, or theoretical concepts, but the ones who actually develop them, who actually study the mathematics behind them and develop them, are the ones who are called the data scientists. So if you are interested, and if you have a sound foundation in mathematical concept, in statistic, probability, all of these concepts, then I think you can also look for the data science side. And for this you have multiple online courses in Python or R. Either you can choose based on your comfort, or you have a prior experience in any of them. And then one thing I would like to mention here, that I have understood from my personal experience, is that especially on Coursera, you have this something called as apply for financial aid. So many of the courses you may find like they are too expensive, or not you can't afford to pay for them. Then there is something called as apply for financial aid, where you just have to give them valid reasons why you want to take up that course, and if you give them enough reasons, they are mostly willing to give you this financial aid. And also in all of these websites there are always some student benefits coming up, so always try to explore all these benefits before buying any course, or going for any such purchase, right? So yeah. So the next type of field that you can explore is machine learning. It is very much related to data analytics, right? But here we do some sort of analysis only, but we, as the name suggests, we try to make the machine or the model learn on its own. So we train it on some data, and then we test it on some other data, right? And machine learning, so if I talk about my experience, machine learning was something that really interested me in my first year, and this was something that I personally explored when I came in college. And then if you want to get started with it, uh, like for even so, actually how it started was that we have this data analytics and consulting club. So there in their orientation they were talking about self-driving cars. So that was so intriguing to know that okay, a car, just on the basis of like previous experience, it can drive on its own. So all these concepts were really new and fascinating, so that is why I wanted to explore it a bit more. And if you want to get started as well, then there are multiple courses on Coursera, YouTube, at least I know of. There's this very popular course, Machine Learning by Andrew Ng. And then I believe machine learning is something very close to the real life scenarios, right? So it would be always better if you could learn by making some projects. So there is this website that I've mentioned. All these things, either I have done like explored on my own, or I have like heard from my close friends about them, and based on that only I'm giving you just some pointers based on which you can get started. And after that, once you start feeling comfortable, then you can always look up on your own how you want to proceed into that field. But these are some good beginner resources that you can try. Then yeah, so whenever you start with machine learning, some beginner projects are, first is stock prediction. So based on the closing price and all of these data, closing price, opening price, you try to predict what would be the price, upcoming price, right? Which stock can go up, which stock can go down. And this is such a problem which is so close to the real life scenario, right? So uh, um, and one more thing, so if you can always add more things in machine learning, so let us talk about, you always add one more thing, which is sentiment analysis. So let's say some news came up about some company, and now based on that news, you suspect the stocks to go down. So this sentiment analysis can also be one factor that you consider in your stock prediction. So yeah, it is like a trade-off between how many factors you want to take in versus the complexity of your model. So yeah, these are some things that you will come across when you are learning machine learning. Then credit card fraud detection. So based on the credit card transaction history, you try to detect that if it is a fraud or is it like a legitimate transaction, right? And then one more thing I would like to mention here about the MIT open courseware and NPTEL. So there are many courses from MIT, and they are uploaded not so they're just free of cost. They are also on YouTube, and even for NPTEL, the courses from IIT, they are all free of course. And if you want to learn some of these complex topics, I think uh, at least for a beginner, you can look for these resources. So yeah, I'll just pause a bit and see. Okay, I don't see any questions yet, but I think, yeah, guys, please put your questions in the chat. I can't toggle each time, but I will definitely answer them at the end, at least. Right. So okay, so the next technical field that you is, and it is also very common, which is the development field. So development field comprises of mobile development or web development both. And for me personally, I have explored more on the web development front, but I think the same would go for mobile development as well. Uh, in one of my internships, I was working with iOS version of the app, but again the tech stack involved was c#.net only, so not really iOS development, but it was like the iOS version of the app, not the Android version. So yeah, I will try to give some generic points. So for web development, there are so many tech stack available: MERN stack, mean stack, Django. And similarly for Android, iOS also, like you have Kotlin and I think and like a lot of other technology stack in any field that you go. So for me, I have tried to explore quite a bit of this tech stack. Why? Because I would like to mention. So when you are working as a software engineer, right? um, uh, Most of the times you will have to get started or get ramped up quickly on any tech stack. So if you have worked if you have worked with a variety of tech stack, it gives you that experience, and it adds to your profile that okay, I give you any tech stack, you can quickly pick it up and start working and make something good deliverable out of it, right? So yeah, so that is why I'm not saying that just go ahead and explore, like you have to do one project in each of the technologies that is available. But if you explore at least one or two tech stack, or at least like I will cover this in the projects part also, but I'll call it out here as well, that whenever you are working on any project, always try to understand what other tech stack would have fulfilled your need, and why you did not use that one, and why you'd use this one, right? So it is always good to know the trade-off between these tech stack, and the interviewer also might be interested in knowing the same. So yeah. Okay, so then yeah, so for web development, especially, I personally did this Udemy, the developer bootcamp course, and then there are, like, online you will find on React and everything a lot of courses. But what I can add to this is that I can talk about my experience. So for me, I built this tourism website. So it was a website where you could upload pictures of various tourist spot, and people could add comments, and they could also add ratings, and I could like somebody else's comment, how it happens on Facebook or Instagram, right? Just like a mini version of that. But as simple as it may sound, but it will be such a good refresher or such a good beginning point for you to be able to understand that how do you build a service, how do you follow REST protocols in your web development, and then how do you set up the database, how do you set up the connection between your code and the database, how do you read the data, how do you push the data to the database, right? So all these very integral things you will be able to learn if you make a full-fledged project that supports this create, read, update, or delete operations, right? And then again, my another project was Codeforces crawler. So this was a bit more advanced in the sense that so it was crawling the Codeforces website, and whatever data it was getting, it was displaying it in a Django based framework. So it was displaying the contest data. I could also search by user. I could also search like what all problems the user has done, what contests are coming for my college, sorry, what contests are coming up, and who are the people who are in the leaderboard from my college, and all of those queries I could do. So I think even these projects, if you do, so first of all, you can see that this serves some business value, some real life scenario, and you are learning a lot, at least the basic, like I talked about just now. These are learning. So I would say in development, I think I will discuss a bit more in detail in the project section what all you can keep in mind. while you are taking up development projects. But for now, these things I think you can keep in mind. Since I'm trying to see the, yeah, okay, I see two questions. Theoretical explanation, I think you have, like even in the Android NG course or any online course that you take, they will always start from theory only, and then at the end they will mostly have capstone projects that will be based on the theory. So I think you can do that. Yeah, cold seal one I'm talking about. Scraping library, I as far as I remember, I use Selenium. But I think there are multiple out there, and you can look for, like I said, any tech stack you can use, and you should know why you're using it. Okay, so yeah, so the next thing is robotics, electronics, or aero modeling. I have tried to club them because they are mostly on the hardware side. So again, you could have interest in hardware projects also, right? Doesn't always have to be about coding. So in this, there might be some technical clubs or multiple competitions also, multiple hackathons happen around these, and even in software, but especially in these hardware based projects, there are multiple uh, societies or hackathons that keep happening. Some of the hackathons I've tried to list, like Smart India Hackathon, MLH Fellowship, and they also organize a lot of hackathons. So they are both for the development and on the hardware project. But especially in the Smart India Hackathon, you have like you have some issues that have been presented by the either the state government, I think, or some those sort of issues. So there, a physical hack might be more influential or might be solving the problem in a better way than a software hack. So that is why I've tried to mention it. But yeah, I'm just, so these are just opportunities that I am listing down. You can always look for that, and apply and uh, apply and see if you can participate in them. Okay, so yeah, on the question side, which course to begin in first year? uh Paid or free, like I mentioned, they might be paid, they might be free, but again, you can always look for student benefits and this financial aid. Especially, I at least know about Coursera. I'm not sure about if other websites also have it, but you can look for but if they are there, please utilize them. And which course to start? So for each of the fields, I'm trying to give some of the courses, right? For each of the field, I've mentioned some courses that you can start with. uh, yeah, so based on your interest, you can always go ahead and do those. Okay, so the next thing the next thing is open source. And open source is something that is like hugely booming. And I also like in my seventh semester only, after that like after like quite late, I came to know about this community, and it's a very amazing community, and I started exploring these projects. So there are multiple organizations, and you will be surprised to know that some of the daily products that you're using, even Mozilla browser, even VS Code, some of the, like, even big companies have made their products open source. They are allowing, even general public, even you, like, if you find that, okay, I'm using this product and I found this particular bug, you can actually go ahead and make a PR and make a bug fix, and like you can actually see your code coming into that product, and you're not even an employee of that company. So I think that is something that is a very big exposure. First of all, you get to work with people around the globe, because especially these open source communities, they are almost always global. And you get to collaborate with these people, and then you get a lot of learnings. So I would say that while choosing an organization, it can be based on various factors. you might like the product, you have been already using the product. It could also be based on if you actually know somebody who is contributing, or if you know that okay, it has a very strong community that way. And mostly all of these open source communities are very beginner friendly. When let's say if you go to the repository, right, you will have these up for grabs or first timers, all these tags associated with some of the issues. So you can go ahead and take one small issue and start set up the code base and start looking into that issue, right? And even there are many websites, my first pr, all these websites are also there, where they only, even on Twitter you have many threads, I think, where you can like they only post beginner friendly issues in all of these open source projects. So if you really want to get started, I think for open source the threshold to get started is a bit large, so that is why most of the people get disappointed or disheartened there. But once you cross the threshold, once you get your first pr merged into some huge code base, I think then from there I think it goes yeah, it's a good ride from there, I think. If you want to not individually contribute, you want to contribute through some program, then there are also multiple programs like Outreach, MLH, GSOC, GSS, which is the Girl Script Summer of Code, and this is Google Summer of Code. So yeah, and yeah, there are multiple programs, and some of these are actually triannual, biannual also. So they take like applications thrice in a year, not even yearly. So you can always look for these and apply. But just that for these programs, they might expect you sometimes to have some, at least some exposure to open source before you apply for these. If not exposure, at least enough interest to apply. So I think that is something that you'll have to prepare for before you start applying. But once you are there, I think this is also one way that you can open you can uh, contribute. Then these are not only for contributing to open source, the community that you get from here, right? I think like they also help you in preparation. So there are many discord channels, even I think LinkedIn groups are also there, where they also talk about DSA preparation, not only the development or the just the development part. They also, since mostly they are preparing for software engineering roles, so you also might be getting a lot of updates from these communities. So I think yeah, it is, but you have to be wise there. Join the right communities, not the wrong ones. So based on your intelligent decision, you can join, and I think there are good benefits there. So yeah. So I see one question: how to start open source after learning development and making some projects. So I think I covered that right now. So like I said, that you go ahead, search some organization or the websites that I mentioned, right? My first PR, and there are other even on Twitter you will have multiple hashtags. From there you can start picking one issue. Like I said, the first threshold will be high. The first contribution that you make, that will take a lot of effort, the setting up. Do ask, reach out for help, but know the proper forums you have to, where you have to ask, right? Mostly we also tend to be shy. We tend to think that okay, if I ask this question, will I come out as stupid or anything? But they also know that you are starting for the first time and you have no clue about this code base, so obviously you will have your question. Try to put effort on your own, and when you think that okay, now you can't understand and you're not able to figure out, then you can always reach out, and these communities are very welcoming and supportive. Okay, so now we move on to the to a part where I think most of us like we also practice, because because this is a part which gives us the problem solving skills, right? The solvings that these companies are asking for. So in the interest of time, I won't go over them one by one, but here I have tried to list down all the data structures and algorithms that you have to have a good command on whenever you are appearing for any technical interviews or coding test, right? I will I will discuss. So you see, tries and segment is also here, and we mostly get intimidated because they are sometimes considered. I mean, yeah, they are considered as a part of the competitive programming. But now I have seen companies asking these tries and segment trees concepts even in mainstream interviews. And but I would like to say one thing, that all these complex data structures, they target a very specific set of problems. Like there are a very selected set of problems, problem statement that these problems target. And if you have a good command on those, I think you are okay, done with the topic, you can say. So I think, yeah, don't get afraid of any of these topics. And yeah, I've tried to list them down. Since you are just getting started with the journey, I think, yeah, it is good that if you have some idea about what data sets involved, you have to, take mark. Okay, and then the last thing, the time and space complexity. So again, as much as it is important for you to know these data structure, it is also important that you know about time and space complexities of these data structures. And so that because it is a very very common question, I think almost all of the time the interviewer will ask you, whatever approach that you give, they will ask you, okay, now tell me the time and space complexity of this problem, right, of the approach that you have given. So we will also discuss one problem, a DSA problem for time and space complexity trade-off, if time permits. For Meanwhile, let's move on to the next part. Uh, okay, so DSA roadmap. I think, yeah, so this is the roadmap, which is almost what I have followed throughout my years of preparation, with some new additions that have come up. So I will go over the steps one by one. My journey started with, I took up the Coding Ninja C++ DSA and Foundation course. And what I have felt is that the depth and breadth of topics, all the DSA, all the data structure that I mentioned in the last slide, right? So all of them were covered very first of all of them were covered, and with like good video explanation and theory. And even for problem, you have like a video to explain it, and then afterward for the solution as well. And then one more thing, the TA support is something that I really appreciate, because sometimes you are stuck on the problem, and if you get the response within minutes, it unblocks you for the entire duration for the entire problem. So that is why, and then you have contests and events like these right now, right, that you can attend and benefit from. So yeah, so after I did the entire foundation course, I moved on to other coding platforms, because yes, if you are appearing for a software development role, you will have to practice a lot of questions. So there, one thing that I would like to call out is that whenever you practice a problem, even if you get the correct solution, right, even if you get it accepted, don't stop there. There are discuss forums, there are multiple forums where people post their solutions. So for the very same problem, you can go ahead and read about it, read other people's approaches. And you might get optimized solution, or at least some different solution, which might be helpful the next time you are seeing some other problem, or even this problem the next time, right? So I would say, yeah, if you follow this approach, then effectively you're not doing one problem, you're doing four problems in one problem. So yeah, I would say if you follow this, I think that should really help you in getting a good grasp on DSA. Then another thing is daily consistency. So most of these websites have daily consistency challenges where you have to keep a streak. So what happens is that even if you practice a small number of problems daily, then also like summed up return will be a lot of problems. So yeah, I think consistent, if you keep it consistent, then that should be really to your advantage. Then the next step is the competitive programming course that I took up, and it was like a revision of DSA. And like I mentioned, the segment tree, Fenwick tree concepts, all of those were covered there. Then a new thing that has come up, the Coding Ninjas Code Studio, I would like to discuss about this. So yeah, okay, it is very important that you practice a lot of questions, you practice a lot of different approaches. But closer to the interview, I think it is a very wise thing to go through the company specific questions and company specific interview experiences, right? Because all of these companies, they have their own way of interviewing, their own way of emphasis of topics, right? What topic they ask more, what topic they ask less, and it is not a bad thing to go through these previous experiences and try to learn from them. It is always good to do that. So yeah, I think this is one place where you can get it all, and you can go through it, and closer to the interview you can go through these experiences and specific questions. Then the last thing is the HR and behavioral round that all of these companies have. I'll discuss it. Okay, let us discuss it here itself. If time permits, I'll elaborate more in the slide. For this, I suggest that you go through the company's website. All of these companies have their own website where they enlist their cultural, mission statement, values, everything, and then they also mention the what they are, looking up to, what they're investing in currently. And then you have to prepare behavioral questions also, and always be thorough with whatever you have written in your CV, end to end. And then always have some questions to ask at the end. You can read about the company, or also the interviewer will introduce themselves at the beginning, so you can also ask questions based on that. Let's say he is from a particular team, and you are interested to know how that team functions or a particular thing that that team does, then you can ask them. Obviously they'll have their non disclosure thing. uh, they can speak limited things, but they will but yeah, whatever they can tell you about, they'll surely be telling you. If not, if you don't want to get into that situation, you can just ask some questions that are just publicly on the internet about the company, and based on that you can ask questions. Okay, so now before we move on to the next part, I will see some questions are there or not. Yeah, so I see one question: preparation for internships on campus. So yeah, I will get to that part. Uh, like how you can focus on your projects and resume, and what points you can keep in mind. Okay. I see SPOG ladder. Okay, so I have personally not used those questions, but again, I don't think it really depends what platform you are using. But yeah, it is always good if you use something that is used by like a larger number of people. But ultimately, it whatever suits you, and whatever from wherever you get get your skills. Yeah, so but there are much more like more common platforms, and more like platforms which have better features, like this consistency thing, and then they have contests. So even like if you have like more people using that platform, then in contests you will get better crowd, right? So I think, yeah, that way you can make your decision. Okay, so the next thing is I often get asked how important are academics and GPA. So I would say that doesn't hurt, doesn't harm to maintain a good GPA. So a high GPA reflects consistency and discipline, that you can manage your acads and your skills together, right? So especially for on-campus opportunities, like we were just I think somebody asked that you tend to have a cutoff from 6 to 8 mostly. So at least in this range, I think you should. Higher would be always better, but most of the cutoffs that I have observed have happened to be between this. And then some companies directly hire the department rankers. In some colleges, these companies, they just come and they say, okay, give me the top rankers from the CSE or like I'm not sure how many colleges have MNC, but let's say CSE, IT, any branch, and they directly very few interviews, or even directly hire them for internship. So yeah, if you have a good GPA, it always adds to your resume. And but I would also say that you don't have to, for GPA you don't have to fight for marks. It's not about marks. Your GPA should be more on the base of your understanding, and it ultimately comes to the understanding of your concepts, right? So yeah, yeah, I mean, when I say you need a good GPA, I don't mean to say that, okay, just memorize everything and just go ahead and like spill it in the exam and get marks somehow. Get a good understanding of concepts, and if you do that, I think GPA can follow. So yeah. Okay, so now I think let's move on to uh, common job profiles that you will see, right? So first of all, I think what the most of the people here might be targeting for is the software engineer profile or the software developer profile, right? So there you would need to know DSA, OOPS concepts, which is object oriented programming concepts, operating system, networks, database management, and system design. So I'm not saying that you need to know all of this in your first or second year. Eventually you will learn it. So at least DSA and OOPS concepts you can start learning if you started with programming now. But operating system, networks, database management, these will come later. And if you're closer to the placement interviews, then I think you should know this concept, and they might ask you this. And then system design is actually not that prevalent. But they can be asked in, like, they might not have an entire round devoted to system design, but they can be asked indirectly, right? They might ask you some operating system concepts in programming problems, right? So yeah, that is there. If you but if you go for international applications, some companies do have like dedicated system design round, but even there they don't expect, especially a new grad or a college going student, to know a lot of system design. They will expect basic understanding, which you will have if you have worked on good internships and projects, right? So yeah, so I would say this is not something that you have to focus from today or from day one, but closer to the interview, if the company asks for system design, then I think you can prepare for it, right? And then there are also analyst profile, like we discussed. So they are like data analytics or data scientist profile, where they might ask you coding, but they might also expect you to know some quantitative aptitude, like you should be good with numbers, right? Then there are product managers profile, which are like more of people managing kind of people management kind of thing. So there you might be, if you have good PORs on your resume, then I think that would be beneficial, right? And then so for product managers, mostly I have seen people taking up the software engineer role and transitioning then to product manager based on their experience. But even for means, like, even some companies are hiring directly from university also for product management. Then there are consultants who are mostly asked case studies, guesstimates. And then designers, yeah. So I have just tried to enlist all the common job profiles. And even especially even from my college, even in people who are doing a bachelor's in technology, they might get interested. So yeah, this is also one field that you can like, if you're interested. And then there is one more like very viable option that people go for is higher studies. So there actually, especially here, GPA comes into picture. If you have a high GPA, again it shows discipline. And and also another thing is that LOR. So if you are planning for higher studies, I would say that throughout your college, at least have one or two professors who can vouch for you. So you can either take your bachelor like thesis project under them, or do well in their courses, or anything, have that good terms, or like have that dynamics with them, so that they can give you an LOR, or they can vouch for you on your LOR, right? So if you're planning for higher studies, I think these factors become important. So yeah, before moving on to the next part, I was okay. I don't see any more questions. So yeah, okay. Let us now move to the next part then. Okay, so yeah, now quickly we'll try to go over, we move on to the next part, which is the interview preparation part. And quickly we'll try to go over what all points you have to keep in mind when you are preparing for interviews, resume, projects, internships, and all of those things. So yeah, so the first thing is the resume. So in any process you will have to apply using your resume. So in resume, I would say first thing is that what are the key things that you need to include: suitable projects and internships, extracurriculars, PORs. I will discuss about extracurriculars and PORs and how important or not so important, or what my experience has been with them. And then of course technical skills, courses achievements, education details, especially for a college student, education details and contact details. Some key points are that whenever whatever projects and internships that you are mentioning, always mention the always try to mention in form of metrics. Let's say you did some ml project, then you could achieve this much accuracy from a model, or you did some development project, or you did some internship. So let's say you did some performance enhancement, so by what percentage could you enhance the performance of the existing system, right? So yeah. um and another thing is that always highlight the key points, like make them in bold, because the recruiter does not have they get the application in such a large amount. They don't have, even few seconds, more than few seconds to go over your resume. So that is why always highlight the key points, so that even in one glance they are able to understand what they're able to understand what you're trying to convey, and they are able to get a gist of your profile. Then there is something called as ats. Like is an automatic thing, especially when you apply to big companies, right? There is a very less probability that it will directly reach a recruiter. It will mostly go through ats first, and for that you have to cut it out to according to the job description. So go through the job description and take out some keywords from there and try to put them in your resume, so that it is more aligned to the job role. Then use power verbs, and power verbs are like, if you just search online, you will get like developed, implemented, qualified, selected, led, all of these, which shows some action has been taken, some power is there. So yeah, if you start your sentences with these, it will really enhance the impact of your resume. And then finally, the one thing that is very often ignored, that the capitalization and punctuation mistakes. So for this, you don't have to each time go through it and like be an english nazi for this. You can just use these simple tools. One tool is grammarly. You can just use them, and they'll really make your life easier. Okay. So okay, so now let's move on to the project section. So projects, like I mentioned, you can take up in any field, but what are some of the key things that you have to keep in mind? First of all, it is always good that if your project solves some real life issue, right? And then, like I mentioned, the tech stack trade-off, you should be aware of what other options were there and why did you choose the current one and not the other one. And if you have to choose that one, how, like, what difference would it make, right? And then what problems that you face, they can be technical problems, or they could be working in a team, any problem that you face and how did you overcome them. Then what improvements, optimization that you have thought about, because your project might be in a development state, right? So what optimization or improvements or future changes you have thought about. Or it could also be like the interviewer telling you, okay, this is one feature that I want to add, and you should be able to suggest that how you will implement that feature. Then the last thing is to learn version control. So version control, and so the most common version control, that is git and github. I would say that first of all, it adds credibility to your project, and then it is a very important skill, especially in software development. You can't do without git and version control. And always deploy your projects, add it in the documentation properly, because it also again adds credibility, and the interviewer, it makes the project easily visible for the interviewer, right? So yeah, that is why I think if you do all of these, you should have a good uh, uh, you will be able to tackle all the project related questions properly. Okay. So the next question, let's say let's say you want to apply for off campus opportunities, right? Because especially in some colleges, we mostly, like, we might not get the companies of our choices coming on campus. So we, and even if you get like, if you don't get like a very good opportunity on campus, you can always look for off campus opportunities. So for applying there, first thing is, yeah, you can always go to the careers page and apply there, preferably with a referral. You can either ask your seniors or cold approach people on LinkedIn, and mostly they will be willing, if you have, if you have approached them in a proper manner, you have given them good reasons to vouch for you, you have attached your resume, and you have relevant skills, and the job description matches those skills, I think, yeah, they will be willing to give a referral. Then there are websites like Internshala, AngelList, even LinkedIn Jobs is a good feature. There you can set up various filters and notifications, email alerts. Then then there are student programs like Microsoft Engage, Google Step, and I think almost all of the big companies have their own, some one or the other student program going on, um, uh, and which you can apply. And then the last thing is cold approaching recruiters on through email or LinkedIn. So I have so this might have not so good of a response ratio, as in, because they are bombarded with so many applications, right? So it is natural that they might not be able to get back to you each time. But uh, but again, you just need one chance, right? So yeah, give them enough reasons, like same similarly for referral, give them enough reasons and make your application stand out, and I think, yeah, they might be willing to get back to you. Okay. So yeah, one more question that is very commonly asked: how important or relevant are positions of responsibility and extracurriculars? So yeah, so first of all, I believe that they help you build interpersonal skills, which are important when it comes to HR round or behavioral round, right? Because let's say one very common question is that, tell me about a time when you could not get along with a teammate, or you had a conflict of ideas, and how did you tackle that? So if you have already faced any such scenario, then it will not be any story that you are making up, right? You can just share your experience. So I think that, and one more thing is that you get a good network of seniors, batchmates, and juniors from there. These seniors might come handy in your career path guidance, or even like things like taking a mock interview for you, or giving you a referral, and even your batchmates and juniors, I think, yeah. So so I think, yeah, if you go out and interact, um yeah, these are some advantages. Then I'm not saying that it has to be always a sports or a fest or a cultural club, it can also be technical club, right? So you are working with people, you are making good project, and on the side you are also having these benefits. So what, like, why not? So it could be, like I mentioned, coding, electronics, or modeling, open source, robotics, any field that you like. If you're not able to find these clubs in your college, there are always online communities for all of these, and you can just look and join. So yeah, so um, I would like to say that do mention them, but try to keep it relevant to the role. So, for example, for me, extracurriculars, I try to mention that I have contributed to open source. I have mentored in various hackathons. I participated in various hackathons. There is this thing, Hacktoberfest, right, which happens every year in October. So yeah, that is how I started, and all of these things. So like, even I was a part of a consulting club in my initial years at college. So like, relevant to the role, even positional responsibility, when you say I led a team of 20 people and conducted a successful fest, that shows, right, you can lead, you have leadership qualities. So I think, yeah, try to keep it relevant. And when you write these, always try to give some numbers, a team of 20 people, and try to highlight that number. That basically adds to the credibility. And yeah. uh, Okay, so I will try to answer some questions. I see one question. I'm from ECA background. Will the recruiter reject my? No, I don't think so. unless the job description specifically mentions that it is only open for MNC and CSE or like some specific branch. If it is not mentioned, you should always give them the benefit, and you should always apply. And if they seriously think that like let's say the CSE people might have some courses that they've done and they might have the relevant skills, and if you don't have the skills, then that is another thing. But just based on the branch, if the job description explicitly does not ask for it, mostly they might consider you, and they'll consider your skills, and if you have the relevant skills, they might be willing to interview you. And especially what I've seen is that this gap, right, especially in the circuital branches, I think only some companies are there. If you talk about on campus also, only some companies which are restricted to CSE or MNC, most of them open for at least the circuital branches. So yeah, so now moving towards the end, let us discuss about uh, how to approach a problem in an interview. Let's say you applied, you got through the application stage, coding stage, everything, and you are into the interview now. Then what do you do now? So let me try to give you some flow, some like how the flow mostly will be for all of the problems. So the problem statement will be ambiguous on purpose. So they want to understand that uh, because even in real life scenarios, if you see, most of the problems will be ambiguous, right? The business or the customer will put some ask in front of you, and they, because they themselves also mostly won't know what they want, they'll just know some idea of it, and then you have to ask clarifying question and make the problem statement concrete. So yeah, ask relevant clarifying questions. You can also ask about input constraints if that is relevant. Mostly it won't be relevant. And if the two to tell about the size constraints, it might also help you to estimate the time complexity. uh, right. So okay, one example here is that let's say they tell that okay, size can be order of n 10 to the power 10 to the power 5. Then you know that okay, n square is not going to work, I have to try for n or n log n only. But mostly this metrics will not be relevant. There might be some other clarifying question. Okay, let's say they say okay, you will be given a paragraph, a huge paragraph. So you can say that okay, can the paragraph contain special characters, only small characters, or does it fit into memory at one go, or is it too large that it has to be processed in batches or something like that. And then once they have provided you the question, then you have to, like, some brute force approach will come into your mind, right? Convey it to them, and then discuss the trade-off between all the approaches that are coming to your mind, and run through some examples. And then unless the interviewer says don't start coding, right? Always discuss the time and space complexity trade-off, and don't start coding unless they give you like a green signal. Because especially for people who have who have uh, who have practiced a lot of questions, for them, like they tend to assume, we tend to assume things. So when we see a question, we tend to assume that okay, it looks like that one, it has to be that one, and we try to go on the wrong path. So don't do that. Don't have any filters. Uh, Always ask clarifying question and try to understand what the interviewer is asking. And even after you completed the code, don't then also look for edge cases, look for bugs on your own rather than interviewer pointing them out to you. And always think out loud, because even if let's say you are stuck somewhere, then also they might be able to give you a hint, or at least they'll know where you are stuck, right, and how much you, till what point you can get on your own. So I think yeah, all these points you can follow when you are in inside the interview. Okay, so I see one question. Do job recruiters specify which programming language they require? Is it necessary to learn C++, or can I learn other languages like Python or Java? Right. So if they need some specific language, then they will mention it in the job description. But mostly these companies are language agnostic, and they don't care what language you are following. They only care what problem skills do you have. And I think, yeah, if that should not be a problem. But to begin with, if you have not started yet, I would say that to begin with, you can start with C++ or Java, because in my opinion, they they prove to be good languages if you are especially for object oriented programming. But if you have already started, I think most of these companies are language agnostic, and they would be more interested in your problem solving skills. Okay. The next question is, I'm in fourth sem. How to prepare for internships on campus? Just started the DSA and from non-CS. So that is what I'm trying to cover. So for internship, the process mostly will be like, you will have a resume shortlisting round. You will have to have relevant projects and internships, right? So the application part is not relevant because the company is already coming on campus. But I think the projects part, the resume part, and this interview, how to approach a problem, I think all of these will be relevant there as well. And even the DSA roadmap and um, uh, what are the topics and all yeah, so all, what are the topics that you have to cover as part of your preparation, right? So I think all of these will be relevant there as well. But if you still have some specific questions, then yeah, please do post them. I will go over them quickly. Okay, I see we are already overshooting on time, so I'll skip this one. But yeah, I'll get to the X factor now. So, X factor is actually nothing but some things that most of these companies uh, uh, they are looking for, but they are not mostly available online and not mentioned. So, things like code cleanliness, readability, proper variable name, modularity. Because when you become a software engineer, right, they become really integral, because most of the times you will be understanding and reading or debugging and even making changes to somebody else's code. So if you have not made it readable or clean and not given proper variable names, and especially these code bases are so huge, if you don't give proper variable names, it is very difficult for you to know that okay, this variable, what is this function, and where is it getting called, and from where, like how does the flow look like, right? And then modularity, because since these code bases are so huge, if a lot of things are happening inside one function, then you will obviously, like, you will not be able to debug it. So even during the interview, let's say if your main function is becoming too long, try to break it down into smaller function. And also sometimes these functions are, very trivial, let's say. So you can say that okay, I assume that this is a function which would do it for me and return it. So to save time in interviews, you can also do it like, you can't do everything, make it trivial, but at least some things that look very trivial, like that are too trivial, you can just say okay, this is my helper function, or some, like, don't make it help, don't name it helper, but it will be some helper function which with a proper name that will be called and will do things for you and return in the main function, right? So yeah, so I'm not saying that throughout your coding test or everything you have to take care of this, but at least inside the interview, when you are writing code in front of an interviewer, you can always take care of these, right? And thinking out loud, like I already discussed, always like gather your thoughts and convey it to the interviewer. So last thing is, I would say, if you are already, if you since you are already just beginning with it, explore. Especially, I think it will be more relevant for the first year, right? Maybe not for the second or third year, but I would say explore the technical clubs, cultural clubs, student bodies, central. There are central student bodies, department student bodies. There are also sports if you're interested in, and friends, seniors. I think they're very important, but always keep a balance. I mean, yeah, ultimately you have to, like, academics and everything are also important, so you have to strike a balance, I would say. Yeah, then yeah, I think that is it. That is all I had, and we also look good on the time. Then now I think, yeah, I can look through if we have some questions and answer them. How do I prepare for data science? I am in third sem. Uh, Data science, third sem. Okay. So for data science, I can share my experience. So for data science, there, like I mentioned, there are. Even for me, I was more on the data analytics side, and that also like not very. I did not do any internships as such in data science or data analytics. But since it was something interesting during my first year, so I did some of the online courses, and then on Kaggle, like I mentioned, there are these data sets. So when you are working with huge data sets, right, a lot of problems will come up. So you will have some. So one thing is data cleaning and data cleaning and so basically you have to because the data set is so huge, there are so many values that are not even present, and some are you also have this concept called outliers with the like they're so huge, right? Let's say in the Titanic data set, I am one column is annual income of the person, and they are giving some 1,000 crores. I mean, okay, this could be a possible income, but in most of the cases, it would be an outlier, right? So cleaning all those outliers, null values, I think that data cleaning part is the starting of the like how you start dealing with data. But for the data science part, not the analytics part, I would say you should rather work on your mathematical concepts, concepts like statistics, probability, linear algebra is also one mathematical topic. So if you are more sound on those, I think if you have a foundation in these topics, then after that you can start with these online courses, and I think you will be able to get good content online. Even MIT, I think MIT courseware have a lot of data science like data science concepts covered. So yeah, I think you can start looking from those. And the one disadvantage, not exactly disadvantage, but one thing that I feel is that for the theoretical part, you might not be able to make a real life project. So that might be like you might not be able to see it coming out alive. But again, if you have a strong background in data science, you can always take some random data set and try to apply the models and look how it is behaving. So yeah, that option is always there. uh, is CP necessary for on campus? Yeah, why not? Um actually, so CP is more like a sport, I would say. Sport as in there are a few set of problems, and everybody's it's like a race, so everybody is solving those problems, and the one who gets there the fastest, solves in the fastest, is the winner, right? So yeah, CP, since you have to do it faster, you tend to learn more ways to do it, right? You tend to find newer methods to do it. So that always helps in even in your interviews. It basically increases your armor set, how you would like to deal with the problem. But yeah, so it definitely helps, but I'm not saying it is like mandatory. Like if you have not done if you don't have a computer programming background, you can't get into like big companies. Even if you have a good hold on data structures and algorithms and other some key factors that I mentioned, right? Like the X factors that I've mentioned, I think those are also some good important factor, at least in interviews. Till coding round, you can always do your CP approach and just write code somehow and get it submitted the fastest. But at least in the interview stage, your understanding of the data structure, rather than getting it done quickly, rather than that, your deep understanding and how you write code, those become more important. But yeah, for sure, to get through the online rounds quickly. And I think, yeah, if you have a larger armor set which CP gives you, I think, yeah, that will definitely help. Okay, so I don't see any more questions, and I think we are also good on time. Yash, can we close now? You are on mute, Yash.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Uh, Thanks a lot, Sakshi ma'am, for enlightening us on time management concerning subjects ranging from data science, data structures, and algorithms to numerous other fields. You presented a simple, realistic vision for future, and now I know I am to reach my destination using a roadmap. Now we'll be having a quiz. Link for the quiz session is in the description. You guys can proceed with the quiz, and the top three winners will be getting goodies from Coding Ninjas. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me. Bye.